then she said, this was a year before Katrina, she said, a major hurricane striking the Gulf area around New Orleans. And then she said another major disaster would be the destruction of Los Angeles in a major cataclysmic earthquake, which I feel could happen at any moment.
Right, and I'm going back to L.A. in a few weeks. Great story.
You better learn my protection techniques before you go there.
Well, if you're in the middle of an earthquake, how can you get protected?
Well, if you keep yourself in a violet protection energy field and use what I call the ultimate protection technique, which is a tetrahedron inside an octahedron, nothing will happen to you no matter what's going on around you.
Just want to make sure my studio there stays intact.
Yes, you might want to think about moving it elsewhere.
Well, I do have the backup in the cave in St. Louis, but I need Los Angeles to get the signal out.
I understand that, but, knowing what's about to occur, we have to take our precautions and make our plans. But going back to what that woman said, in some ways there's some programming issues in what she spoke about. A lot of what she mentioned to me connects to the New World religion, which is being imposed on the earth. Yes, there are beings from the Pleiades star system, but there are 7 stars in the Pleiades, and so talking about Pleiadians is like talking about Europeans. Now, which ones are they? The Russians, the Germans, the French, the Portuguese. There's so many different ones. Every one of those stars has planets. Each one of those planets has civilizations. The Pleiadian star system is younger than our own star system, which means no life naturally evolved there. It immigrated from elsewhere, which if you read my Blue Blood, True Blood book, you know that these are really refugees from the Lyrian star system. So there's a lot of different connotations in this particular topic. A lot of the Pleiadian information, I'm sorry to say, and I know your listeners may disagree, a lot of it has to do with the New Age government mind control system, where the Pleiadians are these space brothers coming to help, when in fact a lot of it is just government-created programming.
Okay, let's go next to our west of the Rockies line. You're on Coast to Coast with us. Hi there.
Hello, George Norrie?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Jack. I'm calling from Cameron Park, a long-time listener,
California.
Caller.
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah, he's got a really interesting. You've got a really interesting program, and I agree with everything Stuart says. I was just wondering if you're familiar with the book by Hal Lindsey, The Great Lake Planet Earth.
Oh yes, I'm sure he is.
Now, a lot of things that he's talking about. This is what Hal Lindsey talks about. And as far as the mind control, I'm a vet from 70 to 73 U.S. Army, and I talk to a lot of vets, and they all have the similar kind of thing. They all love watching History Channel. They all love the Discovery Channel.
Yep.
And I'm just kind of wondering if that's some kind of programming that they did in the second phase. He was talking about the blue light. Are these going to be ex-veterans doing this kind of thing that he's talking about? Or I'll go off the air and listen for your answer.
Okay. Ex-veterans doing some of the work? I'm not sure.
Okay, well, hi, Jack. Anyway, yes, believe it or not, a lot of my clientele are veterans from the various, going back to the Vietnam War and even some from the Korean and World War II. Yes, they used a lot of the soldiers in the military on experimental basis, especially the ones used in Vietnam. In fact, you know that there are literally thousands of missing in action soldiers that have never been identified or located, and many of these soldiers were actually taken to places where they were programmed. In fact, we recently heard of one in North Korea who finally came forward, and he had a Korean family, and he finally stepped forward and said that he had been mind controlled there. North Korea being one of the very big mind control centers on the planet, which is why it was a closed society for so long and still is. So yes, the military uses their own people for programming experimentation. A lot of the veterans do have deep programming in them. Some of it is what I call vigilante programming, which is that they will be going about when the time comes to enforce the New World Order law and report on people who are not literally following the program. We've seen premature activations of vigilante programming in the recent past. For example, with the sniper shootings in the Washington, D.C., Virginia area that occurred. We see other vigilantes occurring across the United States and even across the world. And what they do is, before they fully activate a program globally, they test it here and there to see if the programming is working. So they literally trigger a couple of people to see if the function is intact. And that's how they know whether they need to change something, recalibrate something through satellite transmission, or if everything is ready in place and ready to go. So yes, vets are definitely part of that system. That doesn't mean all of them are, but there is a high percentage of the veterans in this country and elsewhere who will be used as part of the various agendas as they become available to active function.
Okay, next up, first-time caller line. Hi there.
Hi, I'm Cicely, and I'm located in Hayward.
And that's also in California. Go ahead.
Yeah. Stuart, I need you to answer this question. I listened to one of your other interviews on YouTube. I was introduced to you by my husband, and one thing that I don't think you were allowed to really get into was the hierarchy of the Draco race, and I really would like to know more about that.
Hi, Cicely.
And I think you talked about that race on the last time you were with me, but go ahead.
Yes, I think I did, and I do mention it in the Blue Blood, True Blood book. Yes, the Draco hierarchy, and again, I'll just go back to the very beginning. There are 7 reptilian species that make up the Draco Empire from the Draco star system. And the Hindu religion, the caste system of the Hindu religion is actually based on the Draco hierarchy. In the hierarchy, there is an elite group, which are known as the white-winged reptilians, which people have reported seeing. They actually have very white skin and blue eyes. And then there's a warrior class. There is a philosophical class. There's many different layers that go all the way down to what we would call in the Hindu caste system as the untouchables. And those are basically the drones and the workers that go about getting everything in order and doing the dirty work, literally. So, yes, there is a hierarchy. I had talked about once the Soviet Union sent a spacecraft to descend beneath the clouds of Venus to take photographs before the heat of that planet destroyed the cameras. And one of the pictures that were sent back, this was in the 1980s, was 7 domed areas on the surface of Venus. And
stay with us, Stuart. We'll let you finish up on that question of the Dracos when we come back on Coast to Coast AM. Stuart, before we go back to more calls, let's let you wrap up on your Draco theory, okay? Go ahead.
Right. I was talking about the domed areas that were spotted by Soviet spacecraft on Venus, and there were 7 equally sized domes, perfectly circular, and that was actually reported in the late 1980s in U.S. newspapers, and NASA was analyzing the photographs and came to the conclusion that they were actually natural formations, never explaining how they could become so perfectly circular and spaced out evenly. If you understand about the Draco hierarchy of the reptilian civilizations, you would know that the 7 species do not mix with each other. They have their place. They are also programmed to perform their functions, which is why they're kept separately. And it would make sense then that they would have separate living quarters on a place where they would invade or set up a shop, so to speak. And actually, I did a seminar on this called Galactic History, which was recently set to music, which exclusively on Snowcap. You can get it on my MySpace location or on my website. And Snowcap has Galactic History, which I did this music with a man by the name of Herwig Maurer, who was recently gotten nominated for an Academy Award for his work on Apocalypta. And he also worked on The Passion, and he also did the sound effects for King of the Hill. So I was very proud to work with him. And any of your listeners want to know about Galactic History, go to MySpace, Stuart Swerdlow, go to the Snowcap player and listen to that, or you can go on my site and go to the Snowcap player and listen to it.